They're 3 men wearing 1 pair of clown pants.
You can't get in to see the R-rated movies about justice unless you're a certain age, so it's actually 3 kids in a trench coat, but they screwed it up poorly.
It's season 4 of King of the What Now. Before the world government, we ain't gonna bow. We're gonna rescue Rob and unite the crew. We're not gonna stop till our mission is through. Spanum's a dick, yeah, you know it's true. We wanna punch his face till he's black and blue. These government agents think they're justice, but regarding their tactics, I'm rather disgusted. The Straw Hats are pumped up and fists are flying. There's a hairy kaiju and lightning striking. Hearts burning hot in passionate flames. With phantom blades the giraffe is slain. Luffy is dashing, his skin's all red. Don't get in the way or you'll end up dead. The Straw Hats, yeah, they're on the attack. So now Soga King, burn down that flag!
Hello, fellow adventurers of the Grand Line, and welcome to episode 78 of King of the What Now? We're a One Piece podcast, a review podcast. We started at the very beginning of the anime series, and I know how to do these intros after 78 episodes. I am your host, Joel, longtime fan of the series, and also, I'm an assassin who can't keep my mouth shut.
Why do you have a zipper on your mouth if you can't use it? It's actually, that's why he became a podcaster, was so he could get all of his words out. I'm Kat, I'm here, I'm the ghost of the show, but not really anymore. I'm slowly taking corporeal form.
I was going to ask if you had possessed any bodies lately, because it seems like with the structural changes, being a ghost is just not going to cut it.
I think I'm going to need to find a physical form to possess. But anyway, I am a reckless and relentless captain, always pushing ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And, hey, could you please get off this property? You're not supposed to be here, little boy.
Woo! Joel, which episodes did we just watch?
We just watched 5 episodes, the first episodes of the Enies lobby arc, starting with 264, 265, 266, 267, and 268. We're gonna have to find a different way to do our succinct summaries at this point. Perhaps we can be a little bit more succinct, or maybe we should keep them longer. I don't know. People who are listening, give us feedback. Do you prefer the really long versions, or do you prefer kind of the more bullet points version? We actually haven't watched these episodes as immediately as we have for previous episodes. We had a bit of a break between watching and then recording, so this is going to be kind of off the memory, but I think you and I can do it. What do you say?
I think we've got this.
Okay. So, all of the people on the trains have now officially met up. Sanji and Soga King, they met up with the Franky family, and Polly, and Nami, and Zoro, and Kokoro, and they kind of discuss what their plan is and that sort of thing. And they decide that all of the no-name people are going to rush in and open that first gate while the sea train Rocket Man hangs out at sea. So they have a battle, they're fighting a bunch of riffraff, and then 2 giants show up, Kashi and Oimo. And even though they're giants and even though they're very strong, Polly and Water 7, why do I always get those 2 organizations mixed up?
Probably because they were introduced at the same time.
Yeah, and they both have numbers in their names. But anyway, so the Galley Law people and the Franky family work together in order to take down the giants. And so this awesome teamwork sort of thing. Also, Luffy, unable to wait, rockets himself over the gates and is now causing a one-man disruption on the other side of the gates.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good, succinct summary.
We also met the other members of CP9. There were 3 members who were off doing something with the Revolutionary Army, whatever the heck that could be. And
they were assassinating leaders.
members. Yeah, exactly. And so we've now met... And you have to forgive me because I do not remember the names of 2 of them at any given point in time, but Jabra is the strongest of these 3. He's kind of like the leader of their little trio. And he has a rivalry with Lucci. It's heavily implied that he has some kind of devil fruit power, but we don't know exactly what, but they call him a dog, so... But anyways, his name is Jabra, and then the other 2 are Fukuru. He's this kind of round guy whose motif is owls, although that hasn't come up in these episodes yet. But he has a zipper over his mouth, and he's really bad at rumors and gossip. And then we also have, let me check my notes here, Kumadori. He's dressed up kind of like a kabuki stage person. He's got really long pink hair. He's got like this staff, which I think might have some religious subtext, you know? But I don't really know enough about the Shinto religion to say, but it feels priesty to me. And he's also very like, yo, 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 yo! And he's constantly trying to commit harikiri, but he cannot because he uses Tekai to make his body super hard and the knife just breaks.
And he's always saying, I'm coming to you, mother.
Yeah, he has some kind of like weird mom thing that doesn't actually, spoiler alert, factor into like his fights in any way, so...
There's one thing you're missing from your succinct summary.
Okay.
We were introduced to the most important female character of all time, Gathryn.
That's right, yes, Gathryn, whose breakup with Jabra causes him to be heartbroken, and then he and Kumadori bond over their shared loss.
People give Oda a lot of crap about all of his female faces looking the same, and Gathryn, man. Gathryn is unique. And it's not Catherine with a K. I want to be clear. We're not saying this wrong. It is Gathryn.
It is absolutely Gathryn. It's even spelled out on the screen for you. Yeah. Absolutely. We also, for the very first time in recorded history, we have gotten a fan letter in our inbox. If you want to reach out to us, we are available at kingofthewhatpod@gmail.com. We were given some lovely fan art of what we could use for our album cover if we so chose, and so we'll be running that for the next couple of episodes. We're not sure how long it's going to go, but our fan who reached out to us was Keith Bedeleon. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but thank you so much, Keith, for reaching out to us, and we appreciate your listenership.
I loved the cover art, or the album art, so much. Joel showed it to me, and I made like a high-pitched sound. It was very sweet of you to send that to us. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. So before we get into this main episode, I just wanted to take a moment to kind of clear the air. We're down a crew member, and as we said in the announcement, we're not really at this time looking to replace the newbie spot on the show, but because our show originally was we're going to have someone watch this series who isn't familiar with what's going to happen next, now we're left with two people who do know what's going to happen next. We are going to continue to cover these episodes, and we're not going to rely too heavily on foreknowledge. We're not going to I wonder if Jabra is secretly Luffy's brother, because we're not going to lead you down the false path, because we're not going to have those thoughts. We know whether or not that's true. But our foreknowledge might slip in every once in a while. If something happens that's really cool foreshadowing, I think we're going to take a moment and say, wow, isn't this cool? This comes up later. We might not go into details for what that later is, but, we can now more explicitly point those out rather than waiting for Curtis to notice of his own accord. That sort of thing.
Absolutely. But just to clarify in an even more succinct way, we're not going to go into spoilers. You guys are still safe if you were watching along from the very beginning with us.
Absolutely. The other thing that I'd like to kind of do, and I'm kind of stealing this from Blade Licking Thieves, shout out to Blade Licking Thieves. If you like anime, if you like Eastern media, go listen to those guys. There's three buddies, they sit on the couch, they watch movies, or sometimes OVAs for different shows or anime or whatever, and they review everything. They do kung fu movies, they do kaiju, they do anime, they do all sorts of stuff. They're great, they have a lot of back and forth that I really enjoy.
And they have a pug!
They do have a pug, yes, Donnie. And they've also even reviewed one of the One Piece movies. So if you like One Piece, you can just check out that one episode if that's your thing. But anyways, what I was going to say is I kind of like the thing that they do at the beginning of their episodes where they just kind of talk about what they've been watching and that sort of thing. So I just thought that maybe this would be a good space to kind of do recommendations. Because people who are watching us are probably watching for all those One Piece hot takes, what we will do is we'll put timestamps in the episode description. We'll try to figure out how that works so that you can just skip straight to the main episode if you want. But, if you just enjoyed Catherine and I talking to each other, then you can listen to this stuff. Or if you're looking for new shows to watch, we've got those too.
The podcast is really just an excuse for us to ramble about stuff we like. So I am all for this favor. I'm all in favor of this idea. Joel, what have you been watching?
So lately I have had two shows that I've been watching pretty regularly. I will let you talk about the second one, but the one that I've been kind of watching on my own during lunch breaks and such is Black Clover, which is one of those big shonen anime. It is published, the manga is published in the same Weekly Shonen Jump as One Piece, as Bleach was before, as Hit Me Up, Promise Neverland, and My Hero Academia. It's the big shonen manga magazine. And for those of you who aren't aware, Black Clover is about a world in which everyone has magic, but the main character tragically was born without the ability to command magic, but he still wants to be the Wizard King.
Everybody has some powers except for the main character, but the main character tries really hard, and that overcomes his lack of powers.
Okay, so there are many people who deride Black Clover as being a ripoff of other better shonen anime. If you're looking for very specific examples of how it mimics or how it is very similar to another show, it has a lot in common with My Hero Academia, alright? The main character is different from everyone else. He still dreams of being great. He gets a unique power that no one else understands, and he's able to use that power. His main power is never giving up. There's a character that shows up who has 2 magic powers, and they very explicitly go, 2 magic powers? That's never happened before, which is exactly like the Nomu in My Hero Academia. I think Black Clover does some things right, and I think that there are valid critiques. So I would say that it is not my favorite show, but I think that people who just write it off as, oh, it's just a ripoff, I don't necessarily think that's true.
Well, and I haven't been keeping up with it as closely as you have. I just kind of catch scattered clips here and there if you're watching while I'm home or if you send me something. And it does seem very tropey, but I don't think tropey is a bad thing. If you're really into this genre, it's partially because you enjoy the tropes. So if this is what you like, then you'll probably enjoy Black Clover. Because even though it leans very heavily on those things, it still does so in a fairly entertaining way.
Yes. And I would say I'm right about to hit the first season finale. I'm in the final bad guy has shown up and they're fighting him, but I still have like 3 or 4 more episodes before they overcome with the power of friendship or whatever happens. But so far, the show has not been very fanservice-y, which is something that I very much appreciate from shonen anime. Catherine, you unfortunately saw, like, the one instance of very blatant fan service, and I apologize for that, but that's not its usual fare.
Really? Because I was about to call you out. I was going to be like, well, from what I saw, they had a beach episode.
Yeah, well, so they're gonna go to a water temple, and so they go to the beach and they spend half an episode on the beach, and there's a character who's like, I only like women, and there's a character who, when she's at the home base, she only wears, like, underwear or whatever, but, like, the camera doesn't, like, really zoom in on her, it doesn't, like, show the boobs bouncing, which a lot of other shows would do, no explicit attention is drawn to it, and so, like, I kinda give it a pass.
Yeah.
But there was one, at the end of each episode, they do this thing called Petite Clover, which is just like, they take a scene from the episode you just watched and they make it funnier. So, like, I don't know, there's a guy who transforms into a crab in an episode, and that's kind of weird and random, but in the Petite Clover, they're like, why'd you turn into a crab? And he's like, I've always dreamed of being a crab. It's like that kind of, like, you know, that kind of humor. And there was one where the pervy guy...
The Mineta of this series.
He's not as bad as Mineta, but yeah, the guy who's always about hitting on ladies, he goes, let's use service magic. That's magic that helps everyone feel better. And it just shows 2 of the main female characters in bikinis
on
in
top
a very
of each other.
Suggestive way, and like I don't appreciate that, like, on any level whatsoever.
Well, and if I wanted that of these characters, like, I would go search out porn of it. Like, right. I don't need the show to give it to me.
Yeah, but it's not in the main canon of the series. I'm waving my hands, I'm making excuses. My point is, Black Clover is not perfect, but it might be better than you suspect. There are some episodes where I'm like, okay, this feels very samey, I've seen this before, yada yada yada, but then there will be episodes where they do an anime trope, where a character will show up in the middle of the battle and be like, I won't let my friends die, and even though it is the definition of the anime trope, it's been played out, I still feel myself being like, yeah! And I really do think that they do a good job of having Asta's I don't give up be central to his character. Like, Ichigo never gives up, and Luffy never gives up, and Naruto never give up, but there's something about the explicit way that he says, I'm never going to give up, that it feels more central to his character than it does for other shonen heroes.
And other shonen protagonists have strengths and stuff that they can fall back on, whereas his only strength is that he doesn't give up, so it's more central.
Yes.
I have been watching the first season with you. We have been watching it together. The first season of Precure. It's good. I like it. The one problem I always have with these very Monster of the Week episodic type shows is that they're always the same.
Yes.
Like, bad guy shows up, they go, what are we gonna do? And then they hold hands and they use Marvel Screw, and then the bad guy is defeated. And I'm hoping that it gets a little bit more substantial as we get into it. But if it doesn't, that's fine too. It's cute.
So what is Precure like?
Precure is kind of the quintessential magical girl anime. There are girls, they get given magical powers by cute little fuzzy animals from space. They're not from space, they're from a different dimension, but it doesn't matter. And then they fight bad guys who embody darkness and hatred.
Yes. Listeners, if you have heard of Glitter Force or you've seen it on Netflix, Glitter Force is actually the kind of Americanized version of one of the seasons of this show. Precure stands for Pretty Cure, and it's just like Power Rangers. Every season you get a certain number of characters, between 2 and I think 5 is the most they've ever had. And they get different colored outfits, and they have the magical girl transformation, and they fight evil. And the evil of each season is different. It's not the same evil ambassador who sends like a different minion each season. It's they're each self-contained. They don't do crossovers except for some movies, I guess. But yeah, this original series, the first season has 2 cures, is what they're called when they transform. Cure Black and Cure White. And one of them is kind of the tomboyish athletic type. And she actually reminds me a lot of Nami. A lot of Nami. She has the same deadpan humor that
same
Nami
red
has.
Hair.
Same orange hair, same red hair. The voice is even similar. I looked it up. It's not the same voice actor, but that would have been really funny. And she's a little reluctant. She just wants to live like a normal life. And then the other girl, Cure Black, Yukishiro, whose name literally means Snow White. That's really funny to me. But she is the science club leader type of person. She's known as the Queen of Knowledge. And she's a little bit, her dress is a little bit more princessy, a little less like rough and tumble, I guess. And she's embracing this. She's like, it's our destiny. We're going to save the world. Woo!
I love Cure White. Like, she's such a good girl. She's so, you never get that, like, jock smart person thing where they put each other down for not being smart or for not being a jock.
Yes.
So I appreciate that. It's cute girls being cute and fighting evil. So it is a very good show if you just want to feel good at the end of the day. And
both these shows, Black Clover and Pretty Cure, the first season, are available through Verve and Crunchyroll. It's available through Crunchyroll, but Verve includes those programs. Unfortunately, if you want to ride the Pretty Cure train and watch all 15, 16 seasons,
18.
however many there have been, only that first season is available on Crunchyroll, and season 11, or whichever one Glitter Force is available on Netflix. But A, some people don't count Glitter Force as Pretty Cure. And then B, you'd still only have 2 of the 18 seasons available through legal means.
Yeah. To be clear, Glitter Force did air in Japan under a different name, but a lot of Pretty Cure fans feel like the Americanized English translation that Netflix got was not good. I'm not going to argue whether it was good or not, but it was very for kids. They changed all the names to be Americanized versions of the names. They changed some, Japanese pancake to a pizza.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. I knew that their names were all Americanized. I know one of my favorites is the little yellow girl, the girl who became Cure Peace? Or no, she's
Peace.
Anyways, I know her name was Emily, but I didn't realize until I was looking up information about the Pretty Cure series that, oh no, she had a more traditionally Japanese name. And even the series that we're watching now, there's Nagisa and Yukishiro, not necessarily names that someone in America would name their children probably if they were white and from Europe. But when they came over to America, there was apparently a dub, and they were named Whitestone and Blackthorn as their last names, and their first names
Natalie.
were Jennifer, and it's just oh, okay, yeah. I'm not entirely against that, I guess, but I also do appreciate the people who might say that it feels different watching the dub versus the sub.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing ever, but if you're a purist, maybe stick to subtitles.
Mm-hmm. And other than shows that we've been watching, there's also books that we've been reading.
So I said Precure was fun, easy, relax at the end of the day. What we have been reading is not that at all. We reread Iron Gold and then read the new book in the Red Rising trilogy, Dark Age, and it was by Pierce Brown.
Okay.
I guess I should not assume everybody knows. Red Rising is a really good modern sci-fi series, and if you like sci-fi and you like the Hunger Games, then you should read it. The first one is the only Hunger Games one. The rest of them are just kind of about war, but they're all good.
The first one is literally Hunger Games in space, and I would say that on the premise alone, it's still my favorite of the 5. But yeah, he wrote a trilogy, and it's been done for a little while now, but now he's back with a new trilogy. The second book of that trilogy has come out. Catherine had already read Iron Gold, which was book number 4, first book in the new trilogy. I'd read neither, so we went back and we read those 2 back to back.
But yeah, and the moral of these books seems to be that war is bad, and they just keep reminding you, hey, it's bad. So it was very hard to get through emotionally, but Pierce Brown is an incredible author. The way that he puts words on the page, I really like, and all of his characters seem like people. Like you could meet these people. My one and only complaint, so Dark Age and Iron Gold take place 10 years after the end of the original trilogy. In the original trilogy, they started out as teenagers, and by the end, they were in their early 20s. In this new trilogy, they're in their 30s. They still all talk like they're 12. A lot of piss and butts jokes, and I take umbrage to the idea that people in their 30s would still talk like children. But, as is pointed out, like, literally on the page in Dark Age, they have kind of been stuck in this young mindset because, war is constant and it's cyclical, so they are never escaping that version of themselves. So I guess if there's a plotly relevant reason, fine.
I will also say that I didn't quite get that same impression that they were still talking like they were young. Like, yeah, there was some references to some stuff, but I feel like that's just kind of the world that they live in. I feel like Pierce Brown wanted to give us, this is what war is actually like, and this is the sort of things that terrorists or enemies of the state would do in order to try to break the will of their opponents, but it's not necessarily for everyone. I don't usually do very well with super sad stories, and so I had a really hard time with the 5th book, actually, because I could kind of tell that the 5th book was going to take a dark turn, or that maybe all hope would be lost, and that's not really my thing, and I honestly don't know how it's going to wrap up, but the characters are pretty well written, and the world is pretty interesting. I like it a lot. Everyone is born into the color of their caste, and each caste has a specific job, but maybe the people who are not gold should rise up and they should have a right to rule as well, and maybe gold sucks, but maybe gold is awesome because their bones are dense or something. But yeah, so that's what we've been reading, and then we've also started Steel Crow Saga.
By Paul Kreuger.
By Paul Kreuger. We have not gotten far enough into it to give a recommendation or indictment or any criticism or praise, but we've been told that this is basically Asian Pokemon?
Yeah, Pokemon meets Avatar.
Oh, okay, thank you, yes. But yeah, we're only 2 chapters in. It seems to borrow heavily from Asian cultures, which I don't know as much about, but no, just give it a listen. Paul Kreuger also wrote a book about bartenders that fight demons using magic elixirs.
Bartending is in itself a form of magic. That book was called Last Call at the Nightshade Lounge. It was his first novel, and apparently it didn't do very well, which I think is a shame because I loved it. And I would read a sequel if his publishers let him publish one. They hinted at Starbucks magic by the end of the book, and damn it, I want to read about Starbucks magic.
Yes. So anyways, that's our kind of a new segment, what have we been reading and what kind of stuff would we recommend to our viewers? And I would say that I would recommend, I'd probably recommend the Red Rising series. Out of all of those things that we mentioned, Pretty Cure can be fairly episodic and fairly samey. We're only 3 episodes in, but they all feel we're 4 episodes in. They all feel kind of like the same episode over and over again. And Black Clover has its moments, but I've gotten through about 40 episodes, and I wouldn't say that it's been amazing so far.
And with that, I think we're ready to get back to One Piece.
Wait, one more thing that's related to things that we've been consuming and One Piece. There's a YouTuber called Rustage who did a One Piece wrap that has all of the Straw Hat crew members. If you are a newbie to the series, if you are where we are podcasting about right now and you haven't gotten further, don't watch it because it spoils, the
Crew
rest
members.
of the crew. But if you're all caught up, I liked it. I'd give it a recommendation. I like Rustage's music. So yeah, he's just a nerdcore artist on YouTube who raps about anime.
Nuxtaku is in it, and he does a really good job as Usopp. Nuxtaku, please sponsor us.
All right, perfect. So I think in future what we should do is maybe we should do our what we've been reading and what we'd recommend to people, and then do the summary.
And then the summary.
And then...
yeah, I think that would be great. We could even edit it so that the summary comes first when you...
All right. Listeners, that we might edit it, but maybe not. So who knows? Next week, or the next time we do an episode, it will be in the proper order. I can promise you that.
Perfect. And if you have any other ideas for new segments you want us to try out, shoot us a message over on Twitter. I am at Pirate Ghost Host, and Joel is at Kotwin_pod. KOTWN_POD.
Absolutely. All right. So... Catherine, what did you think of these episodes?
They were a pretty decent setup. As always, at the beginning of any arc, I think it's slow-ish at the beginning, even with the battles and stuff that are going on. There's still a lot of expositing to do, and there's a lot of these players are going this way, and this player is going that way, and how are people going to meet up? But it was good. There was some good humor. I love the Marines very gently trying to be like, little boy, you don't belong here. And then Spandam is like, that's Straw Hat Luffy. Was it Spandam on the phone with them, or was it a different Marine?
So Spandam was on the phone, but he wasn't the one who saw the Straw Hat. It was one of the people on the ground floor.
But they were like, that's Straw Hat Luffy, and all of the Marines suddenly like freaked out, but not in time to avoid Luffy just barreling through them like they were human bowling pins. So that was really funny. I really liked Spandam on the phone with someone when they were saying, we've lost thousands of people. And Spandam going, to one pirate? No, you haven't. How many of you actually lost? And then the guy starts to say 5,000, but Luffy knocks him out before he can finish. So he just says 5. And Spandam goes, you've only lost 5. Well, that's more reasonable. And he hangs up.
Yes. And then like later shenanigans between the CP9 members causes his transponder snail to be off the hook. So when they try to call and tell him like, they're really overrunning us, he doesn't hear it at all. They're just doing silly antics. Mm-hmm. So,
what did you think of these episodes?
I thought these episodes were all right. Luffy going on without the crew is pretty funny. I especially appreciate it because they look him in the eyes. They're like, Luffy, you got this play. He's like, I got it, and then he still runs off without them. It's like that level of incompetency is just incredible. I really enjoyed the David and Goliath kind of setup between the Franky family and Polly and the other 3 or 4 members of Galley Law versus Oimo and Kashi. Because, yeah, like, we've seen how strong giants are, and they get easily handled by, the giants when they first show up, but they manage to work together and through the power of ropes, and Kiwi and Mozu actually fought, which is, it's pretty rare in One Piece for female characters to actually take a front and center line like that. And so... just their different combo attacks worked out great. And Zoro, when he launches them into the air and everyone's like, how are we going to land? He's like, oh yeah, I've got a plan. Just trust the fall. And they're like, you don't have a plan at all!
Yeah, he was like, let's hope we get lucky or something. And he grins that crazy swordsman grin of his. I think one of my other favorite comedy bits was when Granny Kokoro and Chimney throw their hands up in the air and are like, don't shoot, we're hostages, ha ha ha, I'm an old lady and I'm a little girl. I thought that was really great. And then they like sit out on a picnic blanket under an umbrella and watch the battle, and they're just having a great time.
Oh my god, they're so good. Longtime viewers of One Piece will know that they hold the power to the completion of this arc. They will combine their powers, and they together will be able to defeat Lucci in his 3rd ultimate secret release beast form, ancient forbidden technique.
Okay, so I know you're just bullshitting, but that actually sounds really cool, and I would like to see an anime that has that 3rd ultra ancient beast release technique.
Each of his hands turn into mini leopard mouths. So he has 3 mouths. For some reason, fans are really enamored with left hand leopard, who they've all named Leo. even though Leo's for a lion. But, leopard starts with Leo, so that kind of makes sense. But yeah, so these episodes were all right. I was a little confused because we were explicitly told that the Rocket Man can't slow down, and yet right here, Rocket Man is just kind of like going in circles. And why did they install extra additional tracks for the train to just like wait before coming to Enies lobby? That was kind of weird.
Maybe they intended to have multiple trains running at once, and so like if you have one train that's coming and you have another train that's leaving, you need a way for it to,
I guess,
pause until the
after
other train
they
gets
said
out
there's
of the way.
only one train though. Like you can hand wave it around, but it's still kind of weird that they built up this it can't be stopped, oh, we're gonna stop it for a couple of minutes type of thing.
So one thing, speaking of Rocket Man, we've hinted pretty heavily that we think that part of the legend of the Straw Hat crew way in the future is going to be that they had a flying ship. The Pirate King Straw Hat Luffy had a flying ship. And so Rocket Man the train flying onto the island is just, they were on a flying thing, take a shot.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And the fact that it's even called Rocket Man is such a cool thing, because like, it was like a rocket. It literally flew in the air. Mm-hmm. I also appreciate the humor bit of, you have this episode that's like this big climactic battle of all of these like kind of second-rate characters, like non-Straw Hat characters teaming up in order to defeat the giants. And then the gate gets closed anyways, and then they just fly over it, and everyone's just like, why did we even have to open the first gate, you idiots? Don't worry, you low-level NPCs, you still managed to level up. I think Polly learned a new skill, dual-wielding rope, so, it wasn't for nothing. But, yeah, so that's all of that.
Who was the MVP of these episodes?
Who was the MVP? I definitely wouldn't say Luffy. Luffy spent a long time just kind of like running around randomly when he clearly can see the giant building he should be going towards, and just gum rocket there, man. I don't know.
Well, and also he had a plan and he just took off without his crew. What if he gets there and there's like all of CP9 in front of Robin and he can only fight one of them at a time?
Yeah, and I definitely don't think that Nami can get the MVP, because she used the lightning bolt that was so powerful it actually took out Sanji and Zoro as well, so, friendly fire is definitely not a thing. MVP, I think I'm gonna have to give it to Polly. It feels like he was the one who kind of led the charge against the giants. Maybe he wasn't, but he also sacrificed himself, kind of. Not really, but he jumped off of Sodom and Gomorrah in order to prevent what were they called? The Wolfhounds or the Justice Hounds from chasing after the Straw Hats.
Yeah, all of Galley Law jumped off and they were like, we'll hold them here. Which, like, honestly, I love that the government has a core of wolf riding weirdos.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
just
absolutely.
hanging out. Why would you have them here and not like in the mountains where wolves might
I don't
have
know.
an
I
advantage?
think maybe there's a pun or something, or maybe, like they're the hounds of justice, so something like that. We also had the three-headed judge, Lord Baskerville, and like, what is going on with that? Like, is that three people inside of a single suit kind of pretending that they're one person? But no, they only have two arms, so I don't know. Like, this is some kind of, like, pardon the language, if you listeners out there have three heads with a distinctive personality and they bicker with each other, but, like, this is a freak of nature unlike any other freak of nature we've ever seen in One Piece.
Yeah, I think he ate the triplet Nomi, which is a model of the human fruit. I guess it would be the human fruit model triplet.
Oh my god, is the quintessential quintuplets, did they eat the human fruit model quintuplet?
No, because they are not one person with 5 heads.
Oh, okay.
They would be much less cute if that were the case. Can you imagine, like, a show about a cute anime girl, but also it's a horrifying, like, eldritch monster that's all, like, oozy and has
Baskerville
limbs.
isn't oozy and stuff like that. I think your mind just went to horror, because you imagine taking pre-existing characters and smushing them together.
That's fair. I just want to see, like, it's cute, but it's horrifying. You feel me?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm tired of only seeing that in the mirror. Ha ha ha. No laughs for me. I think Nami was the MVP of the episode.
You do?
Her lightning bolt attack was really cool. Being like, let's see how Usopp has jazzed this up for me, and then being able to do that. It was cool. It was cool, and Nami doesn't get to do a lot, and I'm happy that she got to do something.
Yes. I wish I got more of an explanation as to how the dials made the climb attack stronger. I guess you could have a heat dial and a cool dial that make it so it outputs heat and cold air faster than previously, but like they literally just kind of hand wave and they're just like, oh yeah, dials and the lightning bolt is stronger. And I don't know, I'd kind of like a little bit more discussion about that sort of thing. And then also I really like the humor of Sniper King, technically. But I like that Usopp and Nami tried to go with the Galley Law, like the people who were going to like basically be the background characters. And Zoro was like, hey, you two, get over here. You're main characters in this show. Oh man, it's so good. And they know Zoro, the Marines know Zoro's name, but not Sanji's. And so Zoro's just like, shut up, Pirate A, uncredited Pirate A.
Oh man, that's so good. I love Zoro's constant rivalry with Sanji and just all the ways he finds to be better than him. My bounty is higher. People know my name, but they don't know your name.
Zoro, I feel like, is the instigator in a lot of the combativeness with Sanji. Like, Sanji's just minding his own business, and then Zoro says something like, you love Struck Cook, and then Sanji gets, like, annoyed. You know, it's like, it's always Zoro who initiates the attack, and then it's always Sanji who escalates because he has such a fiery temper. Mm-hmm. Tempo. That's kind of a...
Fiery tempo! That's a Nami attack. We spoiled it. I really like, CP9, no. I really like Galley-Law teaming up with the Franky family, because the Franky family is all about destruction, and Galley-Law is all about creation, but they're coming together for this common goal.
And their duality, they're able to. And they got Yokozuna to attack I don't know why I said also, because that's not related to them, but I'm just thinking of all the different background characters that are, like, helping in different small ways, and him finally being able to sumo attack the gate in order to push it over was pretty great.
So maybe I'm wrong. I'm thinking back on the other arcs that we've watched so far, but I think that side characters play a much bigger role in this arc than in any of the other arcs. Like, even Alabasta, they had Vivi, and they kind of had Vivi's entourage, but not really. It was mostly just Vivi and Karu who were helping the Straw Hats and pushing them forward.
Yeah, you got like Pell and Chaka who attacked Crocodile at their different points, or attacked Miss All Sunday, Robin, but they never actually like said we have to pave the way for the Straw Hats. And, you know, the Shandorians didn't really help Luffy and his group as much. So I think that you're right, that this is kind of the first time that we've really had this kind of setup. And it's really interesting because this is like a very small spoiler, but Enies Lobby is considered like one of the big arcs of One Piece. It is bigger than Skypiea. It's probably on par with Alabasta, I'd say, maybe a little bit more hype. But it's interesting that this is one of the bigger and longer arcs, and you get all of these characters helping out in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we always like to talk about how Luffy's actions inspire other people to be better. In the case of the Franky family, they wanted to go after Franky. You know, a lot of people were like, they're going to Enies Lobby, we can't do anything now, it's beyond us. But the Franky family wanted to go. They were literally incapable because of the storm, but because of Luffy's actions in getting Rocket Man out, they were able to follow the train and make it through the storm. So they weren't metaphorically led on by Luffy. Like, they could not have done it without him.
Yes.
And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think that it's interesting that the world government CP9 seems to be, you know, about destroying and assassination, and they kind of have planted the seeds of mistrust, but then that also is what kind of caused Galley Law to want to take their, like, they would not have had any reason to go with Luffy if it hadn't been members of their own team that had betrayed them, and if Lucci hadn't been so braggadocious about, yes, it was me who betrayed you. And so, like, they're starting to try and destroy these bonds, and then those bonds are fighting back. And so it's interesting that they're all united in a common cause, and that the world government has managed to upset all of these different disparate groups.
Mm-hmm. Well, and friendship and found family is an ongoing theme in all of One Piece, but I feel like it's especially strong in this arc because, like you said, people are only taking actions because the bonds between them and their friends or their chosen family are being pushed on.
Well, and which two characters are getting kind of the highlights in this arc? Who were the two that got kidnapped? Robin, who lost her true family, and Franky, who was abandoned by his true family, and then they both found family through the Straw Hats and the Franky family and Tom's workers, and it's all good. This arc is going places, and if you don't know what's coming next, oof, just strap in. It's good. And I think that about wraps this up for, what happened in these current episodes. So let's move on to our world-famous ad segment. Folks, we promised you a 10-episode series of Life Plus. However, due to some managerial difficulties, I am unclear as to whether or not this is the 10th or the 11th product that we've provided you. But regardless, this has been the final product that Life 2.0 will release to the public. After this, they will ascend beyond to the great celestial corporations that have welcomed the likes of Blorf Industries and Glarg Incorporated. Now, Life 2.0's final product has been rumored for many years. People have been whispering, talking about it. It's been getting a lot of hype on the internet. People, PewDiePie once famously made a brief allusion to his own support for this company.
Project Codename Koifish had everyone wondering what it could be.
Exactly. Was it going to be Life 2.0? Was it going to be Words 2.0? Or was it going to be something meta? Was it going to be Podcasting 2.0, since it was in fact podcast that made this company so famous in the first place? However, in the end, what it comes down to is Stories 2.0. Now, Stories 2.0 take all the stories that you've heard before, that you love, the structure that you follow, and just takes it up a notch. You want a main character that you can relate to? Well, guess what? The main character is you. You want a rival who's super cool, but also not super unlikable? Well, guess what? That rival's the coolest guy who also secretly wants to be your friend. You want villains and themes and motifs and symbols? Yeah, Stories 2.0's got all of that and then some. It's got symbols that are actually metaphors for things that are foreshadowing for things that will happen in the final chapter. You want to choose your own adventure book? Yes, now you can choose both paths and see the ultimate eventual futures, and it's like a kaleidoscope of possibilities. Now, Catherine, what was the first story that you consumed using Stories 2.0?
The very first story I consumed using Stories 2.0 was, of course, The Princess Wars. And let me tell you, I did not know where this was going to go, but the moment I looked down and discovered myself in a princess gown, I knew it was going to be good.
Absolutely, of course, yes. And for myself, I took Harry Potter 2.0. I was like, a lot of people really like Harry Potter. I wonder what it would be like if you cranked it up to 11. And you just got Harry Potter wizarding duels all the time, and Hermione was like this super secret ninja assassin. She was doing flips and like grabbing people by the faces and throwing them out the windows. And Ron was the secret agent of Project Weasley. He was one of 7 creations of science who could shoot laser beams from their hands and stuff. And let me tell you, there's one thing that I thought Harry Potter needed. It was more laser beams and ninja assassins. So this story was directly made for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now I have to ask, you mentioned, and I mentioned in my review of Stories 2.0, The Princess Wars, that you are the main character.
Of course.
So if you read a pre-existing story using this product, this app, as it were, like Harry Potter, if you are the main character, if you die in the book, do you die in real life?
No, of course not, because Life 2.0 is all about giving their subscribers, their patrons, their customers the best possible experience, and dying for many is not the best possible experience. And so you can live out these realities in separated timelines, and then you safely come back to your own self. And the learning that you've undergone, the moral lessons, those all stay with you. And, some people write books that are all about how capitalism is great, or how society is rotten, or this or that or the other thing. But let me tell you, those are all founded on biases. But Story 2.0 has no biases, so it's impossible for you to be led astray. It's the perfect product. And what is life but one story without narration? And with Stories 2.0, you can finally live your best life. The end. Okay, so now we're back to talking about One Piece.
The greatest story
ever told. One thing that I forgot to mention when we were talking about what we learned in these episodes and what happened, did you notice, I know I noticed, that when we met the first 4 members of CP9, they were all fairly normal. Like, Khalifa is kind of like a femme fatale type, and she accuses people of sexual harassment, but, like, not really that often. And Kaku talks like an old person, he has a long nose, but that's not really that strange.
They all look like normal people, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we meet Jabra and those other 2 whose names I can never remember.
Oimon and Boimon.
Oingo and Boingo. No, but one of them has, like, he looks like an egg, and he has the zipper over his mouth, and he apparently can't stop gossiping, even though he's in a world secret organization assassination group. And then you have Kumadori, I do remember his name, but he's always trying to kill himself, and everything is like a play to him, and, you know, yo, 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 yo.
He's very dramatic.
He's very tall, and he has, like, the pink hair, so, like, weird that the ante for us, the viewers, has now been raised. We've now met the weirdos of CP9.
Well, and I have to wonder if Spandam, who I guess maybe is capable of good leadership decisions sometimes, I have to wonder if he was like, I have this undercover mission, and then I have all these other, like, assassination missions. Who do I send on the undercover mission? It should probably be people who look normal, right? Yes, let's go with the normal-looking ones. Jabra looks normal, but I can't send Jabra on a mission with Lucci because they'll kill each other and they'll break their cover. So Jabra goes with the weirdos.
Okay, perfect.
Although, honestly, now that we know that these 3 were off assassinating and these guys were doing undercover stuff, I think I would have sent Lucci with the assassins. He seems more assassin-y to me.
Yeah, but I think Lucci's your best asset, and I think trying to find Pluton is such an important mission that you send Lucci that way.
Okay, that's fair.
But yeah, I just wanted to point out that, like, literally from the point of view of the characters, we met 4 fairly normal, and then it just ramps up in craziness. And Spandam had a crazy moment in these episodes. When Robin tried to ask a question, he literally just ran across the room and just decked her. So we already knew that Spandam was trash. We've known that since day one. We hated him for the role he played in Tom's death and his kind of annoying personality, but, like, youch.
Yeah, well, and I am not overly sensitive to violence in general, but I can be sensitive to, like, gendered violence, specifically this sort of, like, abusive kind of. It wasn't even a fight. It was just Spandam hitting her in the face. And that keeps coming up in this arc, especially as we get further in. So fair warning to the fans, if you don't like seeing men beat the crap out of helpless women, then maybe, you know, fast forward through those scenes, because it doesn't necessarily stop. And Robin's handcuffed behind her back. She can't do anything. It's not cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very easy shorthand for Spandam is a coward and a bad guy.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure how Oda could have handled it because, I mean, I guess if he had made it a male character who had the ability to read the poneglyphs or something like that, but it still feels both cheap and necessary. You need to show how depraved the world government is, because we here on King of the What Now have never tried to hide the fact that we think that the Navy are secretly bad, but how do you show that they're bad without also kind of playing into, like, the cheap and easy tactics of, you know, of showing that kind of abuse or that sort of thing? But it's going to be good when Spandam gets punched in the face or the stomach or the balls or maybe all 3 at once. You know, maybe it could be a tag team combo attack. Maybe Robin just grows 4 arms and they all punch him in different places. But it will be good if he gets his comeuppance. And if he somehow gets away scot-free, I am going to be pissed.
Yes. I think for me, the best way to handle this, if you want to use the shorthand of, like, this guy kicks puppies, he's a bad guy, or this guy slaps women who are handcuffed, he's a bad guy, I think the best way to handle it would be to have the victim at least try to fight back a little bit, because then you don't have this overpowering feel of helplessness. So, like, if Robin had bit him after he knocked her over, like, at least that would have been something, you know, and it wouldn't have felt quite so visceral.
Yeah, absolutely. It also, I think, speaks to the potential that maybe there's something deeper here, like maybe Spandam has a some kind of a relationship or conception or something related to O'Hara or Robin specifically, or I can't remember exactly what line of questioning she was pursuing, but maybe her questioning his authority, maybe he's very insecure about his ability to lead or something like that. I mean, he's a doofus. He's gotta know he's a doofus. So, like, maybe he worries that he's not actually a capable leader. But One Piece seems to be the sort of show where all the incompetent leaders assume that it's their God's given gift. So, maybe not. But that is something. We did get another glimpse at Funkfried, the elephant. He was in one of those scenes. And not much to say there, just letting you know. We had a Funkfried spotting.
Was this the scene where he was eating a banana? I feel like there's a scene where Funkfried is just holding a banana in his trunk, and that's cute.
That is very cute.
Yeah, I like Funkfried the elephant.
Yeah, for some reason my memory has really been kind of faded. I'll try to watch these episodes closer to the day of recording so I don't lose those kinds of details. Okay, so here's a question. You've got Lucci, Kaku, Jabra, Bluno, Kumadori, Fukuro, and Khalifa. That is 7 people. Now, on Luffy's crew, if you assume Sniper King, maybe he'll get a fight. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Usopp, Chopper, and Nami. That's only 6. So, are we going to have one person take out multiple CP9 members? Are the Water 7 and Franky Family going to get a chance, or what's going on?
Well, and I think this is kind of cheating knowledge, but not really, because they show it to you, so we did get a new opening, and in the new opening, we did see Franky having a fight. So maybe Franky will take on that.
Okay, then
member.
You would have, it would be 7 and 7 at that point.
Oh, sorry.
If Franky were to
7.
join.
I'm tired too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of interesting. They clearly have set up Lucci and Luffy having their rivalry. They've already clashed once. Fukuro had that ability to sense power levels, which is a thing.
Oh, we need to talk about that. Crap. Finish what you were saying, though.
Right. But so Fukuro gauged their power levels, and Lucci's the strongest. And when has Luffy ever not defeated the strongest opponent in a particular arc? We don't really have, none of these people seem to be carrying swords, so we don't really know who Zoro might fight. I think we saw Sanji trading kicks with Califa, but she's a woman, so that's kind of interesting.
Has Sanji ever fought a woman?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so. I just wanted to have that on mic.
Correct. Yes, he has never canonically faced a woman or, ever, even, kicked towards a woman or anything like that.
I think Soga King has to be the one to fight Kaku. Okay. Because it will be a battle of the
long noses.
Yes.
All right, that's pretty good. The opening also shows Luffy fighting Bluno. So, yes, this is partially cheating because it is foreknowledge, but, it seems like maybe Luffy will get 2 battles, one against Bluno and one against Lucci.
Yeah, so. I think, and I actually don't remember how most of these battles went because it's been a very long time since we've watched them, but I think that Bluno has the potential to be the most interesting fight.
Because his powers are so strange and that sort of thing.
Well, and because I feel like it's a lot of he's over there, I'm going to punch him. Oh no, he opened a door. Where's he going to come out? And so it would require more strategic thinking from the part of Luffy, or maybe it's a couple of people who team up to fight him. And so, depending on how it goes, I could see it being a more unique fight.
Okay. Yeah, but very interesting. We'll have to see if that plays out in any way.
Yeah. What happens if Luffy were to jump into the doorway with Bluno? Could he beat him up in there? But then how would he get back?
Questions that we'll have to see if they get answered. And if they don't, we can speculate. You wanted to talk about the power scaling thing. The Dokishi, I think it was called?
Yes. So, power levels... Common enough trope in shonen anime.
A bit, yeah.
Right? We got it in Dragon Ball Z. We got it in Seven Deadly Sins. Was it a thing in Bleach or Naruto? I didn't watch those.
Not really. No, in Naruto and Bleach, you got, people could have chakra or spirit pressure Raietsu, but it wasn't his is 7. It was just oh my god, there's so much. It was that vague kind of power level thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But we've never had them in One Piece before. And, spoiler alert, we never have them again. So to me, this has always kind of felt like Oda was What if I try this thing out? No, it's lame. We're not doing that.
Yeah, we've mentioned Nuxtaku before. He did a video about how he liked the power scaling in Seven Deadly Sins. And in Dragon Ball Z, it was actually just a way to get the villains to underestimate the heroes by being like, oh, their power level is so small, I won't fight them in full power, and then they win or whatever. But yeah, I think that it doesn't really work in the One Piece sense, and you don't really want that. But I think that Oda threw it in there just to establish what everyone's relative power levels were to each other, to definitively tell you, like, yes, Lucci was the group of his group of people, but he's also stronger than Jabra. It also sets up this Jabra versus Kaku kind of, like, thing, like, what? How are you stronger than me? What the hell, man? And that sort of thing.
Jabra's just combative. He's an angry little man.
Yes. So going back to the predictions that we were doing, without foreknowledge, I would assume that Jabra and Sanji would face each other just because they are both the incredibly hot-headed, getting angry at other people for, like, no reason type of people.
I would love to see Zoro fight the one who's always trying to fall on his sword.
Oh my god.
And then he would do that in the middle of their fight, and Zoro would be like, man up, don't be a coward.
Oh my gosh. Does Zoro believe in Harakiri, do you think?
I don't think so. And then the guy would, like, iron body and it wouldn't work, and Zoro would be like, you can't even do it?
Oh my god. Or imagine Zoro being like, if you want to cut yourself so bad, I'll help you.
Oh.
Like, that'd be so good. But yeah, it's always interesting when you get a chance to see all of the villains before they fight the Straw Hats, because some battles it really feels like the Straw Hats just kind of end up facing their opponents, and as the battle goes on, you realize, like, oh, that's the connection, that's why they're facing each other. But even now, when we see the full cast, it's not really like, what kind of opponents does Chopper usually take out? What kind of opponents does Zoro usually take out? Zoro's the only one that's really easy to guess, but there's also only a single woman on either team. So maybe Khalifa? Because I know that's a very common trope in both superhero shows and manga, is to have women fight women, because that is not deemed as inappropriate as a man fighting a woman.
Do you think that is a cultural thing, or have you noticed that in Western comics and media too?
I think it's Western comics and media, for sure. I'm fairly certain that they have rules about, like, what counts as, like, for movie ratings, and I'm pretty sure that a woman fighting another woman is not as yikes territory, and it also avoids the, look, if you had a woman fight a man, and the woman won, I think you would have some fans be like, oh, that's impossible, men are stronger than women. But I think that if you did the opposite, where the man wins, you would have some people arguing about, like, well, that's not real, that's sexist, only having the man win.
Yeah, so there's really, it's a no-win situation.
Having women fight women is just the easiest way to get around it. I know for sure that the Fast and the Furious movies, I know that they're the pinnacle of cinema, but I know that they, I think, have only women fight women in their shows, in their movies.
Okay, interesting. So it's kind of an overarching thing in media. Women tend to fight other women, and men tend to fight other men.
Yes.
I'm not going to comment too much on that in One Piece, just that there is an eventual fight that bothers me, and we'll talk about that when we get to that fight. Joel's laughing because he knows exactly which fight it is.
So yeah, there's some commentary that you can do on that. The Dokiri thing is interesting because it can also apparently, he can register how strong someone is with a weapon, which is cool because I think he said, like, assume that a person holding a rifle at a power level of 5, and you're like, oh, okay. But he can't take devil fruit powers into account.
Oh, he can't?
No, Jabra was like, just remember, that's only physical abilities, it's not devil fruit abilities, so.
Okay. Now we have a basis, though, for buggies.
Yo.
So a normal Marine with a pistol was it a 5 or a 10?
I think it was a 5, I'm not sure.
Okay, and Lucci is something like 3,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, between 10 and 3,000, where is Buggy?
Probably at about a 25.
A 25? You think he could only take on 2.5 Marines?
Well, I mean, with his devil fruit power, this gets so strange, because I don't think Buggy's physically strong. I don't think that he could arm wrestle Usopp and win. Like, they would be evenly tied, you know what I'm saying? Like, Buggy versus Kobe, I'm pretty sure that he wouldn't be able to arm wrestle Kobe, right?
Okay.
But with his devil fruit power, he can take a lot of traditional attacks and be fine. And I still don't think I have an answer for whether bullets are piercing or cutting damage. Because, I mean, technically, I think it's going so fast that it's almost more cutting than it is. So, I have absolutely no idea.
Okay, so we're going to say Buggy is a 25.
Sure.
Maybe a 45 or so with his devil fruit. Which means we got to do some quick maths. Buggy is a certain number of Lucci's.
Times 4 would be 100. Times 40 would be 1,000. Times 120 would be 3,000.
All right.
So Lucci can take on 120 Buggies.
120 Buggies. How many Bellamy's is that?
Oh my god.
Do you remember our Buggies to Bellamy's ratio?
No, I don't think we ever came up with the Buggies to Bellamy ratio. Maybe we did, but I don't remember it.
I thought we replaced how many Buggies could they take with how many Bellamy's, and we said Bellamy was worth that many Buggies, but maybe we didn't. If you remember, because you're such a big fan of us, then please tell us.
Our canon is loose and we make it up off the top of our head.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that about covers all of the kind of like, what do you think is going to happen next? Will Luffy's rampaging have helped out the other Straw Hats? Will they have an easier time getting to the main building? Or will they be on heightened alert because Luffy has...
But they'll have fewer Marines to fight.
That's true.
How many Marines can Enies Lobby hold? Are there reserves who are now rushing up?
I think at one point we heard that the number was like 10,000 or something like that, but I do not know.
Okay, so Luffy has taken out like half of their forces.
Something like that, yeah.
He's a monster. But no, I think the Straw Hats will have an easier time catching up with their captain. Why is he gonna wait for them? Like, when he finally gets to the tower, what brings them back together?
Maybe they just show up and they find Luffy being held down by all 8 members of the CP9 or however many there are, and they're just punching the crap out of him, and then they have to, like, shoo, pigeons! And, like, Zoro attacks them and stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Hattori, tired of the violence, comes over to their side.
Very well could be.
And Lucci is like, my pigeon. Can he love another creature?
I'm not sure. Is Hattori just emergency snacks for Lucci?
You can't eat pigeon.
If you're a jaguar leopard man, you definitely could.
I think that has been your...
No, we have a new opening and a new closing.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Do you want to take the lead on the opening?
All right, so we have got a new opening called Brand New World. It's the 6th opening song of One Piece. And Catherine, you were saying that this might be one of your favorites, so why don't you just tell us some of the highlights? What did you like about it?
I like that it's all about the Straw Hats running from people, but also running toward their dreams and their freedom. That's an ongoing thing in the lyrics. And then also, we know that flags are very important in the One Piece universe, and in this song, they're holding their flag up high and they're waving it around, and the song keeps telling you, like, wave your flag and push on towards your dreams.
Well, and I believe when they show Enies Lobby, don't they show the Marine flag or the world government flag on top of their tower? So that's, I like that. I like the dichotomy there.
This is also a very upbeat opening, which I thought was kind of funny. Our rivals over at Piece Together, they made a joke for the last opening about how, you have this really horrible, sad scene and then upbeat music starts playing. Oh, and it's the same here. Like, all of the scenes in Enies Lobby are gonna be sad. But then we have this really happy song.
Yeah, I like it. It's upbeat, but I could not hum any of it. It wouldn't come to memory. All of the One Piece kind of upbeat, ones kind of blend together. To me, I've gone on record and said that my favorite is Bon Voyage, or at least of the first, say, like 8 or so. But Bon Voyage is a little bit better to me because it's all about, like, the journey and going on to these crazy locations, but it has the Luffy opening of, like, hey, did you know that there's a treasure out there? And I really like that. Especially since it parallels the opening that had Gold Roger. Now you have an opening with Luffy who's going to take over the mantle and that sort of thing. Yes. And I just, Bon Voyage seems really upbeat, and then Brand New World seems just like a half step less upbeat.
I do miss having the dreams narrator right before the song starts playing.
Yeah.
Although my favorite is still hundreds of episodes away when the one guy is like, I'm gonna get you, and Luffy's like, no, you're not.
Stay away from me, evil crab. There's a reference to Parks and Rec for you. The one thing that I will say about this opening that I noticed is we had an opening where Miss All Sunday, right hand of Crocodile, second strongest antagonist we assume, was on the going merry with the crew and seemed to be having fun and seemed to be another one of the crew members. Later on, we found out that Robin joined the crew. People didn't like that because it gave away something that technically hadn't happened in the canon of the anime yet. And if you're a manga reader, you'd know, but, you still want it to be a surprise to the anime-only people. This opening spoils some things. But I will say, if you know what you're looking for, if you know everything that happens, like beat for beat, they actually do a pretty good job of showing some important scenes without showing the full important scene, if that makes any sense. And so they half spoil things, but they don't spoil... Okay, so like the one example is you see Nami doing something with the Climatact. And I will tell you, right here and now, that is how Nami does one of her fights. That's how she contributes to this arc. But you actually don't see how she's using it, where she's using it, or anything like that.
Who she's fighting.
Exactly. So is she doing something with the Climatact to destroy the building? Is she attacking some communications array? Is she attacking one of the CP9 members? Does Chopper get brainwashed and she's using the lightning to break him out of the trance? Like, it doesn't show you the context of how she's using the Climatact. And there's a couple of other places that I'm not going to get into, but they do a good job of skirting around some of the more major spoilers, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, whereas I think it was the last opening, but it might have been the one before that, where Curtis, went frame by frame and was like, and we need to figure out what this means and what this means.
Oh, yeah, with, Luffy punching Aokiji, who froze his arm.
Right, and I feel like that really clearly telegraphed who the bad guys were, who the members of CP9 were, because it showed him fighting the Galley Law people as well.
Oh, yeah, it's entirely possible.
So I think this one, you're right, is better about that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there is a line about, oh man, I'm tired. There's a line about the willpower of the people that came before or something like that.
Okay.
And it shows Gold Roger's ship, and it shows a couple of other ships. I think Whitebeard is there.
People who follow their dreams leave footprints behind, maybe?
Yeah, that's it. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, we also, this has been true in other openings too, but I just appreciate the fact that it shows all the different powers in play. Like, you see Whitebeard, you see Ace, you see Shanks, you see Blackbeard, you see the Gorosei, you see just all these different people.
Doffy.
And yeah, I think he's hanging out with the Gorosei, isn't he? Or no, he's with, the world government people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, slight spoilers, but One Piece is heading somewhere. It's not aimless. And so it's just interesting that you keep getting these small little hints of hey, these guys might be important soon. Yeah, they just might be. But I think that covers it for this opening. Let's move on really quickly to the ending. The ending was called, did you say it was Adventure World?
Yes,
is
sir.
The name of it? And this is the last closing of One Piece. After this, they do away with closings, and I think that the openings get longer to make up for it. And this one is just, I don't know if it's a bop or one of those other two terms that kids on the internet use to describe songs, but I really like this one, and it's distinctive in my mind. It is not, yeah, it's not the same tone as other previous closings, kind of like how Brand New World, I said, was upbeat like many of the other previous openings.
We've had a couple closings in a row that are very sad and slow, and now this one is here, and it's fun, and it has fan art in it.
Yes, every episode is different pictures, and it's fan art that people have sent in, especially children. You get Chopper, who leaves off-screen camera left, and then he comes on camera right, and he's dressed as Chopper Man, who's like a superhero version of Chopper, and he does a loop-de-loop and then leaves.
The only one who notices him leave originally is Robin, and then when he comes back, she pats him on the head.
Yeah. I don't remember the canonicity of Chopper Man. I think he shows up at some point, but I didn't think he was in the the mental image of the fans at this point, so it's interesting that it got included. But no, it's a good send-off. If this is going to be the last ending, I'm glad it ended with the fan art and stuff like that.
Well, and I was telling Joel, imagine being like a 10-year-old kid and you send Oda your drawing, and then the next Saturday you're sitting there watching your Saturday morning anime, and oh my gosh, your drawing made it onto the show. Like, that would be so cool and so exciting. And as we know from Horikoshi, getting your fan art featured like that can inspire people to become mangaka themselves. So
yeah, absolutely. And all right, folks, I think that about covers it. We've got to get going. And so just have a great morning, evening, or afternoon, whatever's the case. Next week, we're watching 5 more episodes, so we'll be watching 269, 270, 271, 272, and 273. And folks, if memory serves me right, it's gonna be a good one.
Buckle your seatbelts, put on your helmets, and look out for those airbags, because we are gonna crash.
And that has been your
Doot
Final Thought
outro
goes here. Thanks for watching. So ends the next leg of the King of the What Now adventure. We're sad to see you go, but we'll be here next week. If you crave some social interaction with us in the meantime, you can find us on all sorts of different media. We have Gmail, Patreon, and Tumblr. All of those are King of the What Pod. King of the What Pod at gmail.com, patreon.com/King of the What Pod. kingofthewhatpod.tumblr.com. Our Twitter handlers are a little bit different. You can reach me at KOTWN_pod.
And you can contact me, Curtis, at Pirate Co-host. Also, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on whatever platform you're using to listen. Not only will this help others find the podcast, but your constructive feedback will help us improve the show as we go.
Thanks so much for giving us a listen. Until next time, follow your dreams and protect your treasure.
Remember, it doesn't need to be literal treasure.